Just a few things. The first thing is that it's posited that as you age, your brain literally loses brain cells, and the one belief is that that diminishes function, and another is that it gives a increased function as well. Now, today is Saturday. Uh, as is usual for me now, um, anyway, yeah. Uh, my book is the current book on the mountain, the Cold War. The final part that I added has been accepted. You can buy a copy. It's a pocket book. It's about 60 pages, 70 pages long, or more or less. I don't know. Can't remember. It depends on what format. But it's free until Sunday, until tomorrow. And there have been some people who have looked at it. Now, the thing, when you're an author, I give you an idea of how to write things. Some people are only capable of writing laws, things that must be acted out or acted upon. Then there are some people who can write so that what they've written can be acted out on a stage or on a film stage so that it can be filmed and at a later date displayed as a film or movie. Then, of course, there are other people who do the same and create games. For example, the game of baseball or the game of cricket or the game of soccer, where they create rules or they write down rules. They're not memorized, and those determine how the game is played. And then there's also other rules that determine where it's played and how big the field is going to be and so on. So quite a few years ago, I did the United States government, I guess the Secret Service or the archives or whatever, released some what they call classified documents, and the problem with them is most of them are written by hand or typewritten, and some of them are just, you can't, it's like somebody writes, look, it's like I wrote a note to myself here. You can't understand what it's about because it's one note to one person to another person. If you get any information or data from it, you can see what it says. But this, what happened was the one that I saw that was released said that. Now I looked it up today, and the date given was different from what I remember. Today it said that 1 year prior to assassination of John Kennedy in 1962, there was a phone call to the US Embassy in Australia, but the context of what the lookup that I saw said wasn't what the classified document that I read 8 or 10 years ago said. What I read 10 years ago was totally different. It said something like, we're going to kill the president. But in the last 10 or so years, a lot of government supposed classified information about myself has either been erased or altered to suit the narrative. But then, anyway, so what they said, for example, is that 2 days before Kennedy was killed, there was a phone call from Australia to the US Embassy saying that Kennedy would be assassinated. Now, if it was arranged by the media, that would be a whole different thing. So anyway, I'm going to finish the story and say there's not much more I can do. I know for certain, absolutely for certain, that the mafia was employed by someone named Lynn Kuss. And Lynn Kuss was that person who had to get finance so she could pick up a kilo that I'm aware of heroin from USA. You see, these people, they fixate in their own minds. They have nothing going for them. They're usually very sick people. Most of them are usually mentally ill, and so on and so on. And they run amok, and what the health system does and what supposed mental health does is tries to handle the people who are their victims. Now, if their victims just number 100 or 200, that can be handled. But if the number of victims is 100,000 or 200,000 or 1,000,000, that can't be handled. But I've known this since 1975. The mafia was employed by these heroin dealers. What am I supposed to do about it? I can't go to the police because the police are corrupt. They're involved in a payback system. So the only thing I can say is all right. But there were 2 policemen. Take it and leave it. I know that you people who are listening, I know Scientologists, I know people in movies and TV absolutely despise government and government employees who are there to maintain law and order. So the 2 policemen you've been doing for the last 15, 20 years, that's Hollywood People USA and TV, were a detective named Jordan and the detective name, now I can't even think of his name. I've forgotten his name. Okay, and that's all gone. It's been replaced by the picture of a man named Carlucci, Italian man, and the whole idea is he wants to restore the vitality of the Italian Roman Empire. And you'll know for absolute certain that there were never any divine people in the Roman Empire. There were never really any philosophers. There were never really any good people. They were, I won't say what I think it was, but they were very good at crime and what we call crime and organized crime. Okay, so that's about all. I can tell you, though, that I'm pretty certain, 100% certain, that Timothy Leary, the character from Harvard University, he got a posting in Italy, academic posting, and apparently the first day he was there, next day his wife was found dead in the car, supposedly killed through exhaust gas from the engine. And he in no time, when that sort of thing happens and you know someone's murdered someone like that, you can't do anything about it. I know that's how they work because they work here and they've been working on me. So Tim Leary's wife was murdered within the first week he was in Italy and Rome. The same thing happened to me when I moved in here. Within a week, the scheme had been set up. They had a spare key. They locked my door, and I had to find a way in just to find that my keys were where I left them, and the crime boss was in control. The Italian mafia for now, I don't know, 8 years, uses number plate BOSS, BOSS. They're crime men. They have, everything, just like every story you've ever heard about the mafia. Every story, not film. Every story you've ever heard about the mafia, how they work, what they do, is what these local characters have been doing to me. So I can tell you the only thing they support is homosexuality. That's the only thing they support. Okay? Bye now. Goodbye. Oh, but I was saying that 2 days before JFK was killed, someone in Australia phoned the US Embassy and said, we're going to kill the president in 2 days from now. Now, back in 61, I think it was, the official record of Google says it was 62, but the classified document I saw was either 60 or 61. That's 2 or 3 years. And the one I saw referred to local Samantha James being born to, top of the notch Central Communist Party figures. And the thing about the Communist Party, particularly where they were in power in the captured nations, is they have a morality. No sex before marriage, sex only to have children. One is not allowed to engage in any sensual activity. One has to be a robot. You got to be a robot. And so Tim Leary's wife, I think, was murdered. And why do I think that? I think the people who did it knew me, located me, and they were the people involved in kidnapping Patricia Hearst as well. Patricia Hearst. But anyway, it's a long story, and I've got a couple of books out about it. One other thing I've noticed is people just don't read books. No one reads a book anymore. It's absurd. No one reads books. Reading a book, I don't think works if it's an e-book and it's on a computer or something like that. It doesn't work because the procedure is totally different. Instead of okay. So that's the end of the story. There was a phone call to the Australian Embassy. Ask yourself that question. Why was this information given to the Australian US Embassy? Why didn't they call up from America? Why didn't they call up in London or Europe or New Zealand? Why was it in Australia? Why did someone living in Australia say, we are going to assassinate the President of the United States in 1961? Why Australia? Well, they have big plans. They usually have big plans, and they want to, either spend or earn trillions and trillions of dollars. Okay, and then 2 days before it happened, it happened. I won't say what I think about the formation of the state of Israel, apart from the fact that the thing that I reject totally and completely, the more I see it, the worse it becomes, is Germans. Like, who were the heroin importers? Germans. Who were the Nazis? Germans. Uh, Germans. The state of Israel had nothing but Germans. Kennedy, he wasn't a German, he was an American citizen. Germans. I don't know. The thing about, like, for example, I'm going to end it there, but it was interesting to watch how it unfolded. I remember when they started on the path of re-enlivening Hitler, re-enlivening the German race, re-enlivening the memory of Nazism, so it could take a central role in what the German nation and the German, thing throughout the world was going to do. That was at least 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and I didn't watch it as a movie, but it seemed obvious what was going on. So, for example, with the Donald Trump, the guys who helped put him into power, they started off as drug dealers here, big fat drug dealers. Once they'd dealt their drugs and I began to appreciate Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift lyrics are just so childlike and infantile and stupid, as to be just, she'll go down in history as the most prolific moron woman that the world has ever known. But the drug dealers got interested in Taylor Swift. Her career then took off, and they moved across the street as the characters who supported Trump and killed some people in some of their rallies. And now the only time they show up here, I should mention they did kill 3 or 4 people locally while they were being active here. Nobody stopped them. The Labor Party government, you see, Labor Party is a government that condones the most outrageous violence and political acts that you can just imagine. You can't even imagine how evil the Labor Party is. So these days they only show up at their old club room when one of their boys in America is going to be on TV, and that was some character had a court case going or was issuing a court case. He'd be on TV, so their boys, their local boys, showed up at their old place here across the road, which is now a coffee shop and a bar. Showed up, spent the afternoon, being boys. You never see them with women. You never see them taking out a girl. You never see them dancing or anything like that. They're strictly homosexuals. Whether they engage in actual sexual penetration and stuff like that, they're homosexuals. They think in terms of, we like being with only the boys. Okay, end of story. Goodbye. So the book is available. It's called On the Mountain, the Cold War. And that's the end. Goodbye.